If you have any interest in the Reno-Sparks real estate market, I've got some good news for you. You came to the right place to get all of the data, stats, and trends that are driving this market.
Assist you sell way smarter.
Now, before we get into the market update and all the stats and trends, cover a couple items. Number one, this is for the Reno-Sparks metro area only. Does not include Fernley, Fallon, Minden, Gardnerville, Dayton, Carson City. This is more of a 30,000 foot macro view. If you want some more specific advice on your property, if you think about selling your home in the near future, and as I mentioned, maybe buying a home, click over to our website for renohomes.com, and actually right here front and center, super easy to find. Want to know what your home value is today? Click on the Find Out Now button. We will give you a full detailed report. It's going to be automated, and then we'll follow that up with even more details to let you know what's going on in your neighborhood and what you might expect to either sell your home for, or potentially what's a good value on a home you're thinking about buying. So without further ado, let's jump in. The first thing we always look at is more macro or sort of national trends, and one of those trends that affects real estate more than anything else, and really all assets, is interest rates. And I don't want to get too much into the Federal Reserve and interest rates and all that. There's other videos on the internet for that you can watch. But just understand that as interest rates drop, asset prices tend to rise, and real estate's no different. Whether it's real estate, commodities, stocks, bonds, etc. As you see interest rates fall, prices tend to rise. Now the opposite is true. As you see interest rates in a rising pattern, that tends to put pressure on asset prices as well. Now here's the good news. Let me zoom in a little bit here. We are starting to see interest rates fall, and if you keep an eye on them, we're right around the 6%, 6.25% range. So that's very good news going forward in terms of stabilizing home prices. Let's go over and take a look at what gets most headlines, which is the median home price. Now, mind you, this is the combined Reno-Sparks area, so all Reno-Sparks. Reno by itself may be a little higher, Sparks by itself may be a little lower, but this gives you a blended overall median home price for the Reno-Sparks area. We're sitting currently at $525,000. That's up slightly from last month or in December, where the number was at $519,950. But it is down, which is interesting, 6.3% from January of last year, where we were sitting at $560,000. And as a matter of fact, we peaked back in, I believe it was May, June, at roughly $615,000 as a median home price. So we're down $90,000 overall since the last, 6 to 9 months. So a fairly significant drop, but as you can see, we have seemed to have leveled off here, and it doesn't look like it's falling too much more at this point. Now, that could change, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. Now let's look at actual active inventory. So these are homes that are currently on the market that are available to look at, and if you wanted to purchase them, you could. So these are actually available properties. And as you can see, we had a significant drop. Now, inventory levels were really tight the last few years as part of the reason prices went up as far as they did. We did see a bit of spike in inventory when we saw interest rates rise. Buyers quit buying because they had sticker shock based on the payments and the interest rates they were going to have to pay, and we saw that sort of stall, and we saw inventory rise, and we've also seen it fall recently. Now, this is very common if you go back through the last 10 to 12 years, or even if you go back further than that. Inventory tends to fluctuate to the low end of about 1,000-ish, 1,000, 1,200, to the high end of maybe 1,800 to 2,000. You can see that bracketed here. Now let's look at active inventory, number of homes available by price range. And this is where things start to get interesting. If you look at $1.5 million plus, 1 million to $1.5 million, 750 to 900, you can see all the price ranges down here. And this is the actual volume of the number of active listings on the market. So I want you to pay attention to this upper end price range here. As far as active inventory. Now let's look at new listings. And you're probably saying, well, what's the difference between new listings and active listings? So new listings are homes that are listed regardless if they're still on the market and still active, or if they're sold or pending or whatever. So this is just the number of listings taken. This lets you know the flow of listings that are coming on the market. So this is an active standing inventory. This is just new listings. 312, which is down slightly from December, where it was 314, but down significantly from last year, where we had 521. And as you can see, we were actually dipping well below previous years in terms of active inventory on the market. Now, you can see it's flattened out here in January. I would expect to see this rise significantly over the next couple of months. Now, what's interesting is new listings by price range, and you can see not a whole lot of listings coming on the market in these lower end price ranges, but more coming on in the 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. Now let's look at the closed sales. And this is where things get a little bit concerning, and that is the number of closed sales 283 in January of 2023. That's down 28% from December. Now, normally you don't see things drop in January. December is when really they kind of start to bottom out. January is when you start to see things turn around, and we're not seeing that this year. Now, I do expect that this to change over the coming months, but this is a bit concerning in that you'd like to see this turn around by January into February, but hasn't done so. Depending on where you sit in terms of selling your home or even potentially buying a home can make a big difference in the market conditions. If you look down to the number of sales, very few homes are selling at 1.5 million plus, 1 to 1.4, even 750 to 9 to a million are starting to really slow down. Now, if I go back to the active by price, you can see significantly more homes on the market, but very few sales. So as that gap gets wider and wider, in other words, more and more homes on the market, less and less are selling, that puts more and more pressure on overall prices. Let's move on to supply of homes. Now, this is interesting because this gives us the total number of homes on the market on basically a monthly basis. How many months of inventory? So for example, let's say you sell 500 homes a month in the marketplace and you have 1,000 homes on the market. That would be 2 months of inventory. So if you didn't list another home, how long would it take to sell those houses off? So where are we sitting today? We're sitting at 3.1 months of inventory, which is actually some of the higher levels we've seen over the last roughly almost 10 years, almost the last decade. But here's where the story gets interesting. Again, going back to those higher price ranges, over 10 months of inventory, $1.5 million plus. $1 million to $1.5 million, you're right at just short of 9 months of inventory. That's firmly in a buyer market territory. Even when you get 750 to $1 million, you're well over 5 months, pushing 6 months. So you could argue stable, but I'd argue that's entering buyer market zone for sure. Now, last chart I want to bring up, and we'll wrap this up, is unsold inventory. Now, this just means homes that went on the market, were up for sale, and didn't sell for one reason or another. They either expired, meaning the contract that they had to list and sell their home maybe was 3 months, it never sold, it went off the market. If you're thinking about selling a home in the Reno-Sparks area, you owe it to yourself to do a little bit of research. Not only research on the numbers and trends, but different options out there for you selling your home. One of the options that I like, obviously work for the company, is assist to sell. We'll sell your home for as low as 1%. That's for homes over 400,000. If you're under 400,000, it's only $39.95. That's it. You're going to save a tremendous amount of money. We are expert, full-service, licensed real estate agents. Been in this area since 1987. Have sold thousands upon thousands of homes, and have put millions of extra dollars right back in your pocket, the homeowners and our neighbors in this community. So check it out. You'll be glad you did. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, you want to discuss your particular situation, your home, something you're thinking about selling or buying, don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Reno-Sparks Real Estate Market Update. Bye-bye.
Assist to sell way smarter.